Another Unity 5 tutorial today, and this is going to be part 3 of the saving system using the EasySave asset from the Unity store. And in the previous episode we went into just quickly almost saving the player's position, and in the previous video before that we looked at saving some basic variables. So in this one I will show you how you can actually save the scene that you're in, and then we'll be able to load from a menu and then so on from there. Be able to load any scene that we've loaded, then load the player's position, and then load up all the variables, because we have to do it in a certain way. If you imagine that in this previous tutorial we made a menu, so if you imagine before you load up any variables you need to be loaded into the scene that you need to be in. So this was the menu and it only had a load button for an example, so there's no point us loading the position before we've loaded in the scene that we needed to be in. So the first thing we need to do is, depending on what we're going to do, so I'll keep this in level 1, I'll open up the simple save, and we need to go about finding a way to actually save the scene that we're in. So how can we do this? It's changed slightly with the sort of changes with Unity 5 and as it's moved on, because the scripting has changed to be able to save levels and load levels, and it works in a slightly different way, but I'll go through it, and I'll go through it with saving it with this system. So in the save function, just like we did before, we'll do es2.save, and it's always the thing that you use to be able to save. We'll open up a bracket, and actually before we do that we need to be making sure, because all this is in C#, we need to make sure that Unity is using something in particular, and it's using the scene management, or we can use a long reference here in the code, but if we're using the actual system directories then we don't have to reference it in such a long instance. So if we write at the top using Unity engine dot scene management, we can easily call the scene management references directly using this sort of namespace that we've given. So having that, we can then write in this box, and you don't need to have this in if you don't need your script to sort of be working in scene management or loading scenes, or with that sort of thing. But from here we'll do es2.save, and in the brackets we will do scene manager, and you wouldn't get this if we had scene management, because we'd have to do scene management.scene manager, and it'd be slightly longer in the code. That's what I'm trying to get across. Then we'll put a dot, and we can say get active scene, and then we add 2 brackets because we're calling that particular function that's built in. Then we're asking to find the name, and then we're going to say comma, then in quotes we're going to say saved scene and add a semicolon on the end. So what this means is we're just going to save from the scene manager, we're going to get the active scene, and we're going to get its name, and we're going to save it to the file called saved scene. And you'll be able to see it if we press play and we save. We just stop the game running, go EasySave 2, settings, tools, and open up the default save. You will notice that we've got a saved scene file now. So what do we need to do with that now? So we've saved the scene, we've saved the position, and we've saved some variables that we need to manage. So now we will go into our menu, and then what we can do is we'll create another script. So we'll create C# script and call this main menu load. And then what I'll do is I'll open up this, and then when we're here I'll just take away these starting functions that we don't need anymore. Then at the top here we can do the same thing that we did before. We'll say using Unity engine dot scene management with a semicolon. Then at the top, within the class that we've written, we'll want to write a public string, and then we'll have level 2 load with a semicolon. And this is just going to be the string that we're going to find. So we're going to find the scene's name and we're going to load this from the EasySave. So then we're going to write public void load like we did in previous scripts. And what this means is we're just going to use it on the load button. So we need to make sure that it's a public so we can get the button click to actually run this function when we want it. Then we'll say level to load equals ES2 dot load, and then in angled brackets we'll write string, and then we'll ask it to load the saved scene inside some quotes in the brackets, and we'll add a semicolon at the end. So like we've done before with the load, we can load integer, booleans, and the player's position using vector3. Now for this we're going to be using a string, which is more of a common type, just like variable, but a string's a series of characters. It doesn't have to be letters, it can be numbers, it can just be a bunch of characters all together, but we're going to be getting the actual name of the scene based on what we'd saved out. Then what we can do is we can say scene manager dot load scene, open brackets, level to load with a semicolon on the end. So really what this is doing is we're passing into level to load, so it's a public string, and we're saying that we're just going to load the string that's inside saved scene. So whatever we'd saved, the string of the name that we'd saved out, we'll put that into level to load, and then we're going to say that scene manager has got to load the scene with whatever we found, as long as it makes sense to the actual build settings that Unity has. So what we can do from here is go to our menu UI, the canvas load button, and what we'll do is we'll put the main menu load on there. What we'll do is we'll add do the tick box for the on click event, add the load button directly to it. On the function we'll go to the main menu load and we will go to the load. So we expect that to just load the scene, and then from there it will load the scene that we were just in, and then it will change the player's position and bring in whatever variables you need. So like I said, you'll be loading the scene before you do anything else, and then once you start the game, then on that start function you will then load everything else. So we press play, we're in the menu. We expect that when we press the button it will go to the correct scene, or will throw up an error. So what you can see there is that it's not added to the build settings. So we can go file, build settings, and you can see there's nothing there in the build settings. So it doesn't really know what to do. There's no names like this. So we'll add menu as number 1 and level 1 as number 2. But it doesn't really matter for this instance. Now we'll get rid of that error just to make things clear. We'll press play again, and now we'll load, and you can see that we now loaded the scene that we were just in, and it loaded the position because we're on the yellow plane, and it will have brought in any of the things we might have had before. So it's just a really simple way to, on the menu, we just load the string, load that string into the scene manager. Then from there, once that scene's loaded on the start function, it calls the simple load function, and it'll say move the position and load any of the variables. And just going over the save system once again, saving the position, saving the scene, and saving any variables you might have. And the variables can be managed from 1 script, 2 scripts, as many scripts as you might need. So these are just 3, I think, the core elements to saving things in your game. And you can use loading just as saving scenes, but it's quite helpful to understand very many different sort of areas to this. But hopefully this helped you sort of get a very base level understanding of save system, and you can incorporate that into your game really easily. So thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Cheers.